My stock answer about New York City in the last year and a half has been New York City is intense, unforgiving, precarious, and I'm very happy to be there. So in short, that's how it's going.
Some of the words that you used, many people wouldn't associate it with loving to be somewhere. So why? Maybe can you delve into that a little bit about why you find that compelling?
When you're in love with something or somebody, when you love something or somebody, you're resolute and you're driven, you're more than compelled, you're focused. And a lot of the time when you love something and you're in love with something, it tends to make you happy. In spite of, and sometimes because of the intensity or precariousness or difficulty that you face.
And what about the experience itself of New York? Has that experience, in terms of you doing music there, or what the city is actually like, the experience that you have with other people there, how has the reality compared and contrasted?
The major distinction that I'm recognizing is that the timeline for my vision to come to fruition is and will be a lot longer than I want it to be. The city itself, has lived up to its expectation as far as how megalithic it is. These stalagmites of skyscrapers just shooting up out of an island and dwarfing every living creature that strolls through is amazing to me. It's inspiring, it's beautiful, it's wind in my sails, and it's a curious catalyst for my artistic vision. As far as gigs go, I've not been able to secure as many shows in New York as I had been in Charleston. Charleston is relatively speaking, just doles out live music opportunities for musicians. Whether or not you've got a lot of experience, they're here, and you can play 7 days a week live if you want. New York, unless you crack the code, if there is a code, it's a lot more difficult. I'm just as happy to be there as I thought I would.
Now that you've relocated, although you come you're between, in some ways you're between cities, you're more so in New York, but as you said, a couple times a month you're back in Charleston. Can you talk maybe briefly about what the bench has meant to you historically and where you got the name Uncle Tim's Bench, this being the bench, and then does this still serve as an anchor point to you? Do you find when you come back to Charleston that it in some ways still anchors you, even though a significant amount of your time is spent in New York City? Is this still an anchor point, and have you found anything like that for you in New York, or is there something in New York that's taking its place?
Sure. I started showing up at this very bench in August of 2015. It has been and always will be a special place to me. Even when I lived in Carolina and traveled to go play music or see family, I would bring myself back mentally to this bench to ground myself in the middle of performance. I continue to do that in New York. If I need to recenter myself, I bring myself, my mind, my heart, my spirit on this bench playing, because I feel accepted here. I feel welcome. I feel home. I nicknamed the bench and my project Uncle Tim's Bench. The uncles in my life, expected role of them anyway, was to be welcoming storytellers. It was an apt nickname for both myself and a label for the bench. Now in New York, home sweet home now, and for the rest of my life, I still have an anchor in the bench in South Carolina. The serenity and the welcome and the embrace of Mother Harbor, of Lady Harbor. New York has its parallels to Uncle Tim's Bench namely in the subway stations that I've mentioned, in Penn Station and Grand Central Terminal and Times Square 42nd Street Station. The Long Island Railroad offshoots that I've become accustomed to playing at. One in particular, I imagine it's a grand music hall because of its high ceilings and vast space. Right under 33rd Street, adjacent to Madison Square Garden in Penn Station. That's probably as close to Uncle Tim's Bench as New York City can offer. In its own way, has an embrace. It's much more chaotic, a much more kinetic atmosphere, much louder, much more distracting, but I can still find center and grounding and zen, and bring center and grounding and zen to life for others in that space.
So Uncle Tim's Bench and the transition to New York City kind of came with the transition to a new name around almost the same time. I think maybe the two are associated, but regardless, what's it been like shifting from that name, from Uncle Tim's Bench to Big Iron Echoes? And maybe you could just talk about that, what that experience is like, taking on a new name, and what Big Iron Echoes means to you, and why.
Certainly.
And also why.
Uncle Tim's Bench is and was a music incubator. For me, with the project and the concept, I learned how to perform live with other musicians. That was never granted to me, never taught to me, but I really wanted to do it, and so I had to create a vehicle to empower and enable myself to do so. That's what Uncle Tim's Bench became. So to perform with others in band and ensemble style settings, but just as well to rearrange and craft full band songs out of poetry that I wrote as a soloist. Some of which were written, and almost all of which were sculpted on this bench, playing solo. Big Iron Echoes, the transition or graduation to that is only appropriate, I think. So the music developed with Uncle Tim's Bench, and now it needs another casing or vehicle to springboard to become relevant publicly to the masses. And that vehicle is Big Iron Echoes. The name itself is more intense. The name itself sounds more like rock and roll. The name itself is mysterious or enigmatic, and as well as it is vivid. It's a direct draw from and allusion to a lyric in my song Tiger Lily. Happiness sounds kind of like those Big Iron Echoes. Free falling downtown in the key of D major. A big iron backdrop to a sour, sweet, squealing, rusty noise. We were singing petty songs of good girls and bad boys. That verse of that special song describes the experience of happiness under the sense of sound. Happiness, if happiness could be described as a sound, happiness could be described as Big Iron Echoes. Big Iron Echoes being a reference to the noise that my harmonicas made as they shot up and down the skyscraper chutes of Asheville, North Carolina, when I went busking there years ago. In my recollection, the name of a statue that I stood against when I was busking in Asheville is actually, I looked it up, it's actually called the Flatiron statue. And it is a statue literally of a larger-than-life sized iron that you would use on an ironing board, made of iron. The Flatiron statue stood to my back as I busked on the hills of downtown Asheville. My harmonica noise bellowed and billowed up and down the Asheville skyscraper shoots in this hilly town. That line has stuck with me since, and I think just the line itself is so vivid, a little bit mysterious, quite powerful, rather poetic. It deserved to be highlighted, and it actually became the name of a live album that Uncle Tim's Bench recorded from a performance at Music Farm in Charleston in 2023. In retiring, if you will, Uncle Tim's Bench, and all of the streaming music that Uncle Tim's Bench put out, I still wanted to retain that special lyric, and it was an apt name for a rock and roll project, Big Iron Echoes. And now when people ask, so tell us about the name, very truthfully, Big Iron Echoes describes the sound that my harmonicas make as they billow up and down the subway tunnels of Manhattan and up and down the skyscraper chutes of Manhattan. That's the Big Iron Echo, and that really defines, it's a special signature to the rock and roll idea that I want Big Iron Echoes, the band, to be.
There's a parallel there with the anchor, like with the Uncle Tim's Bench being an anchor point. The Big Iron Echoes is an anchor point in a way because it's you described it as happiness. That's the harmonic is the evidence of, or it is
Happiness
in Big Iron Echoes, and that as the core or the focal, I guess the centered message that's there.
How about that?
It's cool too that you found, when you lead with the name, and then some of the places that you performed end up being places that allow for Big Iron Echoes. That's pretty cool. And then also I had this thought that maybe you don't end up playing Madison Square Garden. You play the place that you already found, but that becomes the new Madison Square Garden.
There we go. I get it. I love the attitude. I do.
That would be freaking cool.
I appreciate the attitude. Maybe Madison Square Garden's not big enough.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, exactly.
It only holds 19,500.
All right, so we touched on some poetry as we talked about Big Iron Echoes. Some of the lyrics from your song, Tiger Lily. Today we're going to talk about Reveille. What does Reveille mean, and then maybe what does the song mean to you? Yeah.
Reveille is a French word, I believe pronounced in French Reveille. I may be mistaken.
Okay.
It means to wake up or to get up. Wake up, get up. It's also the name of the bugle song that's performed in the morning as the flag is raised on army posts. It's time to get up. It signifies that it's time to get up. It challenges you to get up. It demands that you get up. That's what Reveille means. Music and art and poetry have become a means for self-medication for me, to manage grief, to process conflict and confusion, to egress from sadness, or to drown myself in excitement and do so as much as possible in a perpetual manner. And the poetry of Reveille was all of that. And as with all of my writing, an intention of it is to make it public, to be accessible to strangers. One of the most digestible ways to offer vocabulary as art is through song. And so I immediately started creating ideas for ways to leverage it through song. I fought and fought and fought to keep myself from succumbing to depression and or overwhelming anxiety. Or in order to treat all of that, I wrote and I grappled with vocabulary and I developed it through sound and I played it incessantly. And now, 7 years later, Reveille continues to be a rallying cry for me. Things as grand as uprooting myself from Charleston and moving to New York to go seek a rock and roll fantasy. Gotta get up, man. I believe there's an urgency and a criticality and a very finite time limit presented to us when we conceive our dreams or when they're offered to us. And Reveille really rallies one to activate and just fucking get it. Chase it down. If I had 1,000 lives to live, I might not feel so pressured to go chase down the rock and roll vision in a city like New York that isn't offering a handout necessarily. I may get back to that. But I think I'm only going to live this life one time, so I got to get up.
You've performed that song out a lot for years. Have there been any standout moments where you've had a performance connect with somebody where you can see that song has done something for them? Has anybody communicated that kind of stuff to you about that song and how it's impacted them? If there's nothing specific, that in terms of like somebody where you see, it doesn't matter, it's fine.
I have specifics.
Yeah. Okay.
You're one of them, Noah.
I would say so.
Absolutely one of them. And I think you've observed it in other musicians too.
Yes, I have, for sure. It might not be a concrete thing, like you can just point to it. It may be more of a thing where you just see it. You see it when people are experiencing the song or they're playing with you. As part of Uncle Tim's Bench.
That really comes alive,
right?
When you're playing it.
Because then and you give people this opportunity to experience the song through Uncle Tim's Bench, but they give it their own. You let it be theirs.
Yeah.
You let it be theirs, and then they have a chance to really experience this song, and you allow them to take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's offered to you. It's now your ammunition. The point is the message and the empowerment of everybody on that stage, particularly, but also the listeners in the audiences. There are people who've never touched an instrument in their life, who I care to engage, empower, not just entertain, but to offer something to face life head on with.
I think it's a song that's applicable to everyone in every walk of life. It crosses everything because there's a drive, a need to get up no matter what you're doing. Life's not easy, and the only way you're going to overcome is if you muster everything you got and you get up, and you get up again, and you get up again, and you get up again, and that's how you're going to get up. But with it also has very clear and lyrically in the song, and maybe that's where we can go from here. Clear implication for artists and for people that are stage performers. For me, as I go on this journey of being an artist, being a performer, and the grind that's associated with it, and realizing that nobody's going to hand it to you, and you can get in this frame of mind where you see a particular stage, you think, if I could play that stage, then it would happen. Your song calls us to build our own stage.
Right here.
Exactly.
Right here.
Built
right here.
There's something beautiful about taking what's otherwise maybe something ordinary, and it doesn't need to be extraordinary to become extraordinary. That for the amount of beautiful stories that have taken place through music, it's taking an ordinary place and then having extraordinary things manifesting extraordinary things from that space, and then that space becomes this beautiful is beautiful, simple, and that can be done anywhere. And so your song is a reminder to people, and it's a wake up call. It's a wake up call that sort of, yeah, it's like that's the way it is. You know. So, but okay, give us some more insight into the lyrics and maybe some of your favorite lyrics.
Sure.
Yeah.
That line stands out above all to me, I think, as well. Build your stage. Yeah, the vision is Madison Square Garden, but first of all, it's not going to be handed. Second of all, it's a crapshoot, even if you're naturally gifted and you're offered opportunities. Third of all, people have to like your sound and your brand enough to drop big money to go see you at a place like Madison Square Garden. I don't know that I started with any of that. But what I do have is a subway station. What I do have is a park bench. What I do have is Sidewalk Square on Market Street in Charleston. This is my Madison Square Garden. Market Street is my Madison Square Garden. Grand Central Terminal is my Madison Square Garden. And that's sacred ground. You create the experience that you hope to achieve. That's the attitude I have anyway, especially because nobody's giving it to me. And at some point, I think organically and intentionally, with an obsessive degree of effort and focus and desire and fun, Madison Square Garden will come about from Uncle Tim's Bench, from Penn Station, from hole-in-the-wall bars. These park benches are the vision, are the dream. And if you can approach your performance in that manner, if you can build your stage, build your apex, it'll likewise come to you. Build your stage. I dare you. It's nothing short of a dare to the musicians out there. I dare you. But those were words to myself when I first sculpted the lyrics to that song. They're still words to myself. I dare you to get your ass and go fucking build your stage in New York City. I dare you. I dare you. And if I didn't go to New York to build my stage, I couldn't properly challenge every other musician out there who hears my song to do the same. If I didn't go to New York, Noah, I couldn't rightfully advise you or dare you or push you or excite you to create whatever it is that's your stage, whatever vision you might have, in music or otherwise. That was me, the compulsion to do that was me following my vocation, embracing my calling, and taking a risk. I don't know exactly what's out there on that frontier, but knowing that I love what I do, and I think I got a chance. I built my stage. I'm building it.
If you want your message to have any meaning, you have to be willing to live it yourself. No.
Precisely.
Are you working on any new music? And maybe just overall what maybe people can look for, if it's newsletters or what they can look for to see from you?
My approach since moving to New York regarding crafting new material, my immediate priority was just survival, getting into places to perform live, building a community of my own. Meanwhile, actively collecting observations and inventorying experiences mentally to be able to craft music from. the last year and a half, I haven't written nearly as much as I might have expected to. But of late, the last couple of months, I'm getting back in touch with drafting one-liners as I observe cool things or experience impactful experiences.
Follow your newsletter, or what would be the best way to kind of follow what you're doing?
I'm most actively available on social media on Instagram or Facebook under the name Big Iron Echoes. I do keep a semi-regular newsletter, and it's able to be found at bigironechoes.com.
Anything else that you'd like to add, Dad?
Yes.
Okay.
We as musicians are a trusted core of priests and priestesses. If you have a message, it's not necessarily about you anymore. You've transitioned from a self-medicator into a practitioner of music. And in a rut or slow spot or doldrums, keep in mind that, if you've evolved into a storyteller, not just a story writer, you have a calling and an accountability to your listener. So keep the listener on the forefront. If for some reason you don't feel fulfilled in doing music for yourself, we're message bearers. And also keep in mind that it's fun. Music makes me happy. Doing music fulfills me. So that's a kernel of truth I have to remember, even when the return on my investment isn't visible or palpable. And I hope the musicians in the concert hall tonight can do the same if you're in that same position. Build your stage, tell your story, sing your song. Gotta get up, man. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
I can't wait for the outtake reel.
But I'm gonna put that in the edit, and then we'll see what happens.
Well, we got a musician coming up. That's cool. Someone to play some tunes. I don't know where he plays. Not everybody finds this to be their best spot. There's a banjo player who always stands over there, if he's still alive.